Hey guys, this is Ashley, Legacy Farms Coffee. I am the founder of Legacy Farms Missions in Cerro Bueno, Honduras. I'm also the owner of Legacy Farms Coffee in Honduras and Legacy Farms Coffee Roasters here in Mound Ridge, Kansas. We started doing mission trips back in '98, or I did. Met my wife there about '99 or 2000, got married in '01. And so I've been going back and forth to Honduras for 25 years. This July was 25 years. So I am the main roaster. I'm teaching Leah to work to run the roaster. My son Jonathan's got a pretty good handle on it. I do want to start the day out by saying I want to send some prayers out to Jose. He lost his son a couple of days. He's over at Third Day Seguin. He is a super nice guy, and man, I can't imagine what he's going through right now. So let's be thinking about him. You guys can find us on Instagram at Legacy Farms Coffee 2010. Lots of great pictures there, or plain old Legacy Farms Coffee at Facebook. And then my email is Legacy Farms Coffee uh, at hotmail.com. Sorry about that. I drew a blank there for a second. Got somebody hopped on already. If I've got my laptop on also, so it's getting disorienting seeing my face in two different places. Just that much good lookingness is crazy. Uh, but I do want to welcome any new listeners that are here. If you guys would introduce yourself. Oh, I am sleepy again. Man, I am hammered this week. We have had such a busy week. I got in, we did a 20% discount for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all those things. And man, people were just tearing it up. I roasted coffee. I roasted 400 pounds of coffee last week. And having said that, when you roast 400 pounds, you don't sell 400 pounds before you have to roast again. There's 16 or 18 different options here. We got three or four different blends, flavored coffees. So some things run out, you have to re-roast again. But then today I got an order in for we do fundraisers. So we got one in that was 30 pounds. We got one in that was 187 pounds, and then I think 30, 50 K cups, or no, 90, 95 K cups. People love the K cups. I absolutely hate them. We make nothing on them, and it's a struggle to do them. None of the boys want to help. So it's a pain in the butt. And I would love to get a K cup machine when I get rich one day and just let it spit them out and make all the K cups everybody wants. But right now we have the I fill that you have to do by hand. If there's any questions, I didn't write all the questions from the week down because somebody came on last week's show and asked a huge question that I thought we could probably easily talk about for half an hour, especially if you guys will. Yeah, Bob Fuss says K cups are evil. Bob, we use the I feel. They're a little bit better than some, I guess, but I really, really, really want to get a machine. So I should start a GoFundMe or just have Bob write me a check, either one. Oh, it's Christmas, Bob. Christmas is coming up soon. Oh yeah, how to make good coffee bad. I bought a K cup machine, just like a little $30 one at Walmart, and so I'm gonna play with that a little bit and see what my coffee really tastes like. I'm sorry, guys, I haven't had time uh, to drink much coffee today. Oh, the elementary school is what I was going to talk about a little bit. Uh, a long time ago, when we first started homeschooling, we were here for like 2 months, and elementary school let Eli go to elementary. Jonathan didn't want to go. When the high school didn't have that option, so he went there. They were super nice to him. He really loved it, and so it took me 2 years to get them to where they would let us help with the fundraiser because they had another coffee group in there. So, but anyway, they finally came with us. We dropped our price $2.50 lower than the other guy's price, so they finally came with us. So the first year we sat down and talked, and they said, "Oh, we've got like I think they did 280 pounds with this other company." So the first year they did 460 with us, and then last year it was 777 pounds. I don't even know how many K cups. Um, I can barely walk. There's so much junk in the floor. But anyway, I don't know how many K cups that they did. I wanna look at it real quick. I'm stepping off camera. But it's a crazy amount of K cups that they did. But anyway, last year it was 777. This year it's we need 954 pounds. They sold 285 dozen K cups, and there's a total. I'm going to have to roast 1,200 pounds to get them the almost 1,000 pounds that they need. It's just insane what these little kids are out there hustling and selling coffee, man. And they made an incredible amount on that fundraiser. So I enjoy doing fundraisers. Well, I probably shouldn't say what they made because you just should. Uh, but that we don't make anything on the K cups. At that one particular school, we just really wanted to help them, and they've just gone. Those little they're middle school kids, so they really get out there and sell. So it's been fun to watch them. And the lady that's coordinating it, the stickers are just so. She's got tough, big bins we put the coffee in. Just a very organized person, and really, really fun to work with somebody like that. But I got Bob online. There's 4, 5, 6 other people online. Uh, Thanks for the likes and all that good stuff, guys. Anybody that wants to come on screen, now is a good time to do it. Okay, I'm back on the phone. So I'm not sure if you guys are seeing a straightforward shot of me or a sideways shot. You can let me know. I'm not sure which camera to look into. It's a whole lot easier to answer questions when I have my laptop up. But the main question that we got asked last week was to talk a little bit about defects. Oh, I roasted coffee till 2 o'clock this morning. I put my blends together. I swept the floor. We were supposed to go to kickboxing fitness at our dojo that we go to. In that class, we have to leave here at like 5:10 to get. No, the class starts at 5:15, so we have to leave here at 4:30. And so I went in the house. I lay down at 2:30. I got up at 4:30, and I was like, "This is not going to happen." So I went back to bed. Uh, didn't get back out to the roastery till about 9 o'clock this morning. But it's been a hustle day. But the question that somebody asked about last week was the defects. So I should have gotten a chart. I do know that there's one called the shell. It's very difficult to select it out. Of course, all of our coffee is hand selected. It's difficult to select it out because it's sort of like the bean is broken in half, or it's broken into two parts. So there's an inner part that's not physically connected. And so when we start roasting the coffee, one part swells more than the other. That little piece comes out of the center. Uh, I guess it goes out chafe or burns up. But anyway, we get these beans that are like a little shell shape. I remember I threw one over here the other night. I'm not sure how well the camera can see that. Probably not good enough at all, really. But it looks like a little shell because it's sort of open on the end. Not going to happen, I don't think. But it's just basically a shell. And that's what's known as a 10-to-1 defect. So it takes 10 of those to count as one defect. So a lot of people don't realize what defects are and how bad some of them are, how good some of them are, really not good they are, how little they affect. I'm not sure about triplets, Most of the time, you have two beans in the cherry and they grow together, and that's why there's a flat side. When you have a pea berry, one of those sides dies, and you're left with just one bean. It doesn't have anything to press against, so it makes a little round bean. We call them redondos, carcachills, or pea berries in English. So those are a lot more dense beans. A lot more. They're a lot of times they're more flavor packed. But until a few years ago, those beans were known. Those were counted as defects, and they even go through our defect screen. So a lot of people don't pick them out. We go back and pick them out. But another anomaly that occurs in a bean, and like I said, two beans inside of one cherry, uh, is the way they normally grow. There's also one known as a triplet. Also goes through the defect screen, and we lose it a lot of times. Good gracious, that's hot. And so I have a customer that buys all the triplets I'm willing to pick out. So he just likes the triplets. So that may still be known as a defect, but I don't think so. But for us, it's not super important because we pick them out and save them anyway. So all of them I get, I sell to that one guy. There's some obvious ones. I know that on my defect chart that I have in Honduras, they've got like nails. The biggest nail is that U nail, the fencing nail. You see a lot of those. We don't, but our workers do because they dry on the side of the road and all kinds of places like that. The only time we ever run into trouble on the farm is every once in a while you get somebody that's a pain in the butt and they throw a rock in their beans, the cherries when they're picking it. I don't know if they think it's funny to see the machine come apart or what, but it takes us out of the business for 2 days and costs me about $400 when somebody puts a rock in there. And that's intentional because there's no way a rock can accidentally fall in your bag. Now, when they do have a spill, we try to coach them pretty well to, don't worry so much about it. If you can verify a spill, we'll give you an extra 5 or 6 pounds of coffee credit on your picking list just to leave it. Um, or they can pick it up and take it home with them. But I really don't want them scraping it off the ground and throwing it in the bag because that's where a rock would get picked up. But when they drive on the side of the road, you're going to get, rocks, you're going to get concrete, things like that. The concrete we get on our coffee, once it's laid out on the selecting table, the women see it. The tables are black, so it stands out. So they pick that out. But concrete obviously is a defect, and we repair our drying patios once a year, and so there's a lot of little bit of bits and chips of concrete. And when they're raking that constantly with big wooden rakes, concrete gets in the coffee. But it's if any of my customers are watching, if we ever if you ever get something like that, I sure would want you to tell me about it. But those things are going to be a super bad defect: rocks, nails, cement. The triplets and pea berries, not a big deal. Uh, but there's broken beans. Some of them are broken by the depulper. Some of them are broken by the dehuller. The girls are really good about picking all those out. But if they're not discolored, they tend to leave them in there. If it's a good shaped bean, but it just got cut in half by the machine, I don't know that they're that, we don't really focus that much time on picking them out. The shells, I don't worry about those at all because I've had the ladies pick me out uh, 12 ounces or some amount of shells, and then we roasted them. And we've roasted all the defects. The worst ones are the Quakers. Those things are just horrible. So I had her pick me out a couple ounces of those, and they just are awful. And supposedly, what we learned in cupping school was one Quaker will ruin 40 good beans. So there's about 800 good beans in a pound, all the way up to 1,000, 1,100. There could be even more if you're talking about Yibin mocha, having tiny beans. But my Mario Hipe has giant beans, so it's going to be on that lower end of the spectrum. But each bean is a different size, and sometimes they're extreme, like the Mario Hipe. The Mario Hipe really gets huge once you roast it. Yeah, and when I roasted the concrete defects, They really tasted bad. They tasted like concrete. But most of that stuff will get settled out when Mojito runs it through the Trigadora or the dehuller. The biggest one is the Quaker, and I think more people complain about Quakers because they see them more. A lot of times you don't see these conches or these shells, but the Quaker, when you go dark, they usually tint up enough that you don't see them. But when it's a little bit lighter roast, they stand out like a sore thumb, and so people see those and they're more aware of them. I do think that we've got a great bean as far as how clean they are and all that. But this year I've had three or four complaints about how many Quakers. And I've noticed when I roast, I have 3 minutes from the time I dump the coffee in the tray till it's cool enough to dump it into a big bin. And so during that 3 minutes, there's a couple of things I have to reset on the roaster. But then I have a good minute and a half where I just reach in and pick out defects. And the biggest defect I'm picking out are the Quakers. There's also some carbons in there, and those are beans that got stuck in the last roast and went through a second time. So there's just nothing to them. They're just a little piece of charcoal, and so I picked those out. But that's not necessarily a defect. It is a bad bean. It would add a bad flavor to it, but it's nothing that my ladies on the selecting table did wrong. My machine has just got some little nick and cranny where it just a bean got stuck in there, and then it rode a second time and it got pulverized. But I looked on everything information that I have on what causes a Quaker, because that was one of the main questions: what causes a Quaker? And so the and I finally just went to what is it? The AI, Chat GBT. I guess I'm going to advertise for them for hundreds of people that watch the show. Uh, the Chat GBT gave me three completely different answers. The one I sort of that seems reasonable are the green unripened beans, because when the coffee's picked, it's brought up, it's weighed, it's puts in a giant tank, and we pre-fill that tank with about 1,000 gallons of water or something. I'm not sure. So as soon as they put it in, the bad beans float, but the bad beans are generally insect damage. So the green beans that aren't developed, they sink to the bottom. Instead of calling them carbons, I may start calling them Starbucks. Might be more fitting. I did add boycott Starbucks to my hashtags. I'm not sure why. I just did it because everybody else was. So it seems the reason that the green beans that were picked a little too quick, uh, people just got in a hurry, did a poor job of picking, and there's some green beans that slipped through. We try to jump in the tank and get them out if there's very many at all. And once we see somebody do that, they get put on a special list tomorrow, and then their bag's going to be dumped out on a piece of plastic before they're allowed to dump it on, and let them know that if they do it a third time, the second day they get to pick them all out by hand, and I won't buy them. So that's going to cost them money instead by doing that poor job. And then if they do it a third day, they're going to be notified that first day. If they do it a third time, I'm going to pay them almost nothing for the coffee that they pick. And so that's the only way to get these kids' attention. And it's mainly kids that do it. The older people take a lot of pride. And if any of you guys saw the interview I did with Pedro, where he just lit up when I asked him about his 9 year old, and he said he's 9 years old and he can pick 50 pounds a day. We weren't talking about how much he could pick or what he could do. That was the first thing that came out of his mouth. And he was very proud of that fact. And that's a badge of honor. There's guys that can pick 500 nice pounds of coffee a day. That's a lot of coffee. And so if I had 30 guys that could do that, that'd be all I need in the farm. I wouldn't have to fool with a lot of these people that have to be inspected all the time. But there was a couple different reasons that AI gave and none of them seemed very logical, except for the fact that the coffee was green. And I know for a fact that coffee sinks to the bottom just like the good beans, because technically it's not a bad bean. It just hasn't ripened yet. So the Quaker, I'm going to go with the answer, final answer. Quaker is an unripened bean, and so I think that seems to be the most logical explanation about what happens with that. Oh, Richard Henderson's online. Yeah, I love Pedro, man. He is. We're starting to work with him and making him do a few things. Um, the other day, I taught him how to put the battery charger on. I want him to. I've got a finicky battery charger, so you need to unplug it. There was two or three things out in the bodega. He was having to swap the battery charger, and normally I wouldn't even unplug it. I just unhook it, move it to the next battery, and plug it in. But mine throws a check light when I do that. You know, so it'll be yet to, we'll have to see if he followed through. But I said every 2 weeks, I want him to mark it in his little day planner. We give all the guys a day planner, and I want him to run through and charge everything up because I want all my batteries in good shape when I get there in about 6 weeks and it's time to hit the ground, start picking. Because batteries, the cheap batteries that we buy are $175 a piece, and so that's a lot of money. And every year I buy one or two batteries. You know, Dodge has got two batteries. The NQR has got two batteries. There's just a lot of batteries on the farm, and if you don't take care of them, and we don't start them for months at a time. So when I was there last month, that's what I did was I walked around, started every or start tried to start everything, and so it wouldn't start. So I put them on a battery charger. So Pedro's a guy that I'm going to be grooming, and that's why I did the interview with him. I'm going to try to start selling his coffee in the States, and I'm going to start grooming him to. We're going to work with him on his math skills a little bit. I like for them to be able to figure the percentages and stuff like that in their head when they, there's a lot of times we do just some basic math, uh, and he's got those capabilities, and they all do. They just gave up on school because there was no opportunity. You could have if you live in my area and you got a master's degree, it's not going to do you any good when it comes to picking season. The PhDs and the masters, they get paid the same to pick coffee as you and I do. Uh, and we do have some school teachers come out and pick coffee. But Pedro's super nice guy. His brother Santiago. Bill, if you're watching, you can chime in. Bill has bought Santiago and Marvin's coffee last year. Currently, I don't have a Pedro on my menu because Pedro's coffee cupped at a 30 last year. I'll have to find the sheet. But yeah, Pedro, we're going to try to work with him. Right now, he's guarding the farm. Uh, he does that pretty much every night. Some of the higher ups will take them off guard duty when they're running short of money, and they'll pick up a night or two of guard duty to pad their paycheck the next week. So we're going to stop that because that's them taking advantage of their position. They gave him that job; they need to leave him alone. And so, but I found out they were doing that. If Pedro, every once in a while, Pedro will swap with somebody, that's fine if it's his call. But I don't want somebody to reschedule them. But right now, I think when in the interview, if you listen to it, you'll hear him say Marciesa and Perinema. This 2024 crop that we're going to be picking pretty soon, he'll have Perinema in it. And then he's got another farm that's got a mix of Perinema and of Catuai and Lempira, which is yet to be seen how they'll do. The reason his coffee cup to 30 was because he didn't want to pay anybody to pick it. So he and his family picked it over 3 days. So there wasn't enough coffee for him to call me to come get. So what happened was the first coffee fermented for 3 days, the second for two, and the third part they picked was got one day of fermenting. and they mixed it all together, so I didn't have the option to separate it. So it ruined it. The Richard was asking about the the Quakers. That's what I was taught by Willem Boot, who owns Boot Coffee Company or something like that. If you'll Google Willem Boot, he spells it Wiliam, Willem Boot, and put a little sub thing in there about Panama geisha. He is pretty world famous for his Panama geisha, and he taught the cupping class I took. But he's the one that gave me that number of 40 to 1. But I did roast just Quakers one time. They actually did crack. They cracked, but they turned. The best they could do was a little bit past blonde, and it looked like a pre-first crack color. So it wasn't the best looking coffee. So you could look at it, and obviously there was something wrong with it. But the smell gave it away, and then the taste was just awful. It was just flat. I don't know. It's like it actually almost like there was flour in the cup of coffee. It sort of gave you a pasty taste when it was done. So, not something I will repeat. The AI did say that it was a coffee that wasn't roasted enough. I when I do my dark roast, I have one that I take pretty dark, and it hides a lot of the Quakers. But I still think they're Quakers, and I still think they're going to affect the cup, even if you camouflage the color of them. Now we've got Richard and Bob that have made a comment. There's a couple other guys out there. If you guys would introduce yourself, and if you have a website or if you do sell your coffee on Facebook, uh, put it on there. We'll give you a shout out. If you're just a coffee drinker, just say, "Hey, my name is Bill, and I'm a coffee drinker." Now, Bill may or not be watching tonight. I think he's got a sick kid. He's got somebody in his extended family, I think, or a good friend's family, got a hand hurt. And Bill started a new job, I think, 2 weeks ago. So Bill's got a lot on his plate, and he's roasting coffee. This week, if there's anybody near Wichita or Mound Ridge, Kansas, you guys are sure welcome to come by and get some roasting time. I average about, once the machine gets rolling, I average about 60 pounds an hour, and I've got to do 1,200 pounds. That's green in. And so yeah, I'm looking at quite a bit. So I'm trying to get a helper to come in and just help me fill buckets and take some weight off on me there, because it'll be probably 2 10-hour days to get it all said and done. My wife made some amazing pumpkin muffins, and so I'm sorry I'm being rude and eating these online. But I got a hot cup of it's a blend of a yellow bourbon, about 20%, and then my Perry Nama, and I'm really liking it. It's hot. It tastes a little funny. I use my AirPress. I just realized those metal filters they gave me, there's two different ones in there. And man, it makes a big difference which one you use. So I'm getting a lot more acidity than I normally get. But love the AeroPress. Love my fancy cups. There's so many things I love tonight. So I love the peace and quiet of a late Wednesday night. But if you guys have any questions, shoot them out there to me. I talked to one of my roasters in Iowa, and I call him my roaster. He's my customer that's a roaster. His wife was telling me that her husband just sits there while they're roasting and just tries his best to pick out 100% of the Quakers, and I think that's a great idea. Ah, Richard's talking about his wife made banana bread. You want to eat banana bread? Live on a farm that's got 2,500 coffee banana plants on it. Man, I when they start turning and getting a little soft, I know Julia's going to make banana bread, and I'm hoping she'll teach some of the ladies how to do it, because that would really be something I'd like to sell in my coffee shop. Uh, I am looking for some help starting the coffee shop. If anybody ever runs across a really good espresso machine at a good price or something, I need to pick up an espresso machine. The coffee shop's going to be tied in a little bit with a nonprofit in the sense that we will provide free coffee for church, free coffee for any of the moms at the library, free cookies and little dry cakes for the women that come to the library. And we're going to try to do a women's Bible study. Also, the coffee shop will provide coffee and snacks for that. We're buying a gas oven so that I can start teaching a girl to bake so that we can have breads and stuff for there. But the main thing the nonprofit will do is there's a couple of girls that I know in the neighborhood that are going to quit school. And so if I can get them trained as a barista, this would go a long ways for a good job for them. Tips are just almost non-existent in Honduras. So the the coffee shop's going to need to pay a decent wage for these girls to really make a good living. But otherwise, they're going to be focused on getting married to some knucklehead out there, and that'll be her life will be put in that little tunnel, and that's going to be her life. 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. Uh, and so once she starts having kids, the odds of her, being able to keep working. So if I can get them a job, and then we send them to what's called Saturday Sunday school, they can, if they hustle a little bit, they can get their high school degree and go to school just on Saturday and Sunday. So that's what we encourage if they have to quit school. I'm being very random tonight, but I would love it if the girls could cook me banana bread while I'm in Honduras. Although it's probably packed full of sugar, I'm not sure. I'm getting old and I don't want to get fat. I can't help getting old, but I can help getting fat. So I'm going to try not to eat any more sugars than I have to, because that is my vice with coffee. I'm not going to put anything in my coffee, but I'm going to put something with my coffee. In an emergency, I just get a milk chocolate bar and take a few squares off of it. I enjoy eating something sweet with my coffee. Richard talking about going down there. It's something I haven't finished a project that I've been meaning to, but I want to get everything laid out to exactly what it would cost if Richard wanted to come up, or if he wanted to come up with his wife, what it would cost the two of them to be there. If they stayed in a hotel, it's like $25 a day, and the hotel charges per person, not per room. So we might get a discount if it's a husband and wife, but that's generally the way they charge. And then, and we handle all that money for you. Uh, Celeste is a great cook, and she's bilingual. She's probably in her early 40s, and she and her husband, Carlos, own the hotel. He built the hotel about 3 years ago. It's a great little place, just a basic hotel. Wi-Fi, cable that you can't understand because it's all in Spanish. But the downside is it's next to a Pentecostal church that holds service about 5 nights a week. But uh, if I can come get you at the airport, I love doing that. If not, it's $100 to have a taxi bring you out to the farm, and we usually throw in a $10 tip if nobody gets sick. And so they tend to drive a little aggressive. I literally grabbed my little driver's arm last week and looked him in the eye and said, "You've got to slow down," because he just got his license. The nonprofit he works for gave him a brand new truck. Thing's got 1,000 miles on it. He's already wrecked it, said it wasn't his fault, but he was driving 80 miles an hour on these roads that there was an landslide. And I'm not exaggerating, 80 miles per hour, not 80 kph, 80 miles an hour. So, but you're going to probably average, if you stay a week, a couple could come and stay and really do everything they want to do for $1,000. If you wanted to like have somebody take you souvenir shopping, it all matters. If there's a mission team down when you come, then we're going to be doing a lot of eating out at night. If you're a coffee guy and you want to come during harvest, it's going to be 15-hour work days, and there won't be a lot of time for that. But I've got people that could take you out and take you souvenir shopping, but it'd be renting a car, renting a bus, hiring a chauffeur, things like that. But it's all how much you want to spend and what kind of experience you want to have. But the meals are generally $6 a piece across the board. And we average all that out. Breakfast is a little cheaper, supper's a little more expensive, lunch is, in the middle ground, and then so we average about $6 or $7 a meal, and then that'll cover us all going out to eat somewhere nice at least one night. And sometimes I can't go with you, but if you come June and July, that's when the mission teams tend to come through. So there's a lot more. They always want to do a souvenir shopping and stuff like that. But it's my best time of year. I enjoy the harvest. It's stressful. It's running around with duct tape and making things work. And this year, my son is not going to be there for the entire harvest because he's 18, graduated high school, and got a full-time job. He's going to take off for, I'm hoping, a month and come up, but we'll see how that works out. Julia takes off for a month and a half and comes up there, and Eli will be with me a little bit before they get there and a little bit after they leave. And so that's our super awesome, fun Father Son Day time. Last year, if you guys watched, uh, Eli and I went and did the first podcast in a cave. We did the first drinking of Legacy Farms coffee in the cave. We had a picnic in a cave, and we actually got to go in the cave. We stayed in there over 2 hours just walking around. But we always try to do some kind of adventure once they leave, and uh, and I'll try to do something with the family as a whole. But Eli and I get out and do a few more adventures. Um, and even if I have to go to the dentist, that's usually where I go to the dentist. We try to do something fun before the dentist. But no, we love having people visit the farm. I don't care when. That's up to you guys. And there's even arrangements that are, we've had people come stay on the farm that aren't even when I'm not there. So it doesn't really matter with me. So this by end of January, I'll have the new apartment finished, hopefully. So that'll give us two apartments. So that'll boost how many people can come at a time. But I would ask you guys if you're associated with a church to talk to somebody about maybe bringing a mission team out, especially if they do concrete stuff, because we've got some landslides that were pretty bad. We've got a couple that were bad, but they're going to get worse if we don't do something. So we desperately need some teams to come out and help us get that under control. The farm itself is fine, but we need to shore up all these things. We lost two bathrooms, so I'm going to put another bathroom in this apartment that we're building, so that'll put us back at two. The flying, Richard, is not too bad. I forget where you're located at, but when I leave, it's like 6:30. I leave Wichita. I fly to Houston, an hour going from Terminal B to Terminal E on the little train, and then it's a 2 hour and 45 minute flight. They always say 3 hours, but it's always 2 hours 45 minutes straight to Honduras. And if I'm able to pick you up, then I'll be there in customs to meet you. So Spanish is not a big thing. About half the guys know speak English there in customs and stuff. So it's not that bad. I meet you with a cooler full of water and Pepsi and a couple of hot pizzas, and so we'll either eat out in the parking lot or according to how everybody feels, we'll eat and drive. And there's a halfway point. We get out and stretch our legs. It takes about an hour and 10 minutes, and I drive pretty reasonable to get to the farm. Then we get you set up real quick in your apartment. Normally, people lay down and take an hour or so just to rest, but it's not a push stressful week. It's just whatever you want to do. We try to make it happen. And there's lots of walking trails in the farm. If you want to walk a lot, you can walk down to the waterfall. If you want to swim, you can jump in. So that we're bordered by two rivers. It's a beautiful place. Got a lot of beautiful people in it. Uh, the apartments have all your basic stuff: refrigerator, microwave, stove. You know, got a shower. There's a couple machetes for you. You can sleep in a bed, or there's hammocks. You can hang a hammock in your room. A beautiful view, and just some amazing food. The ladies will bring you breakfast, and the ladies will bring you lunch. And I generally take care of supper. You'll eat with me or eat with my family. So it's a pretty good trip. I can't wait to get back down there. The only stress is the girl that's been working here may not be able to work, so that gives me 6 weeks to train somebody. The guy that used to roast my coffee sold his coffee roasting business to some big company, and so they're not going to be roasting my coffee this year. So I may actually fly back for like 6 days and and do some roasting right in the middle of the harvest. No, they don't allow hunting. They do in Honduras, and you can bring your own shotgun or rifle. You just have to. It's a big deal if you don't get back on the plane with it. You can't bring guns into the country and leave them. But yeah, you can bring guns in for hunting. We're actually in a wildlife preserve, so there's no hunting where we're at, and the animals are real tame. I was driving my four wheeler the other day, and a deer came out right in front of me, ran out in front of me for a little while. But we have a puma, some boa constrictors, anteater. There's a few unique animals out there, but for some reason the deadly snakes aren't up at higher altitudes. At least that's what I was told. I've seen numerous corals. I've killed half a dozen coral snakes in other areas, but never seen one in our area. So that seems to be reasonable. What they tell me that they're not in the high altitudes. It's because I've seen them at the lower altitudes and killed them. Yeah, we've had groups fly in from Tulsa. Most of them will go ahead and go to Oklahoma City or Dallas. Dallas has some pretty good rates a lot of times. I always fly United, but there's a couple of different groups that fly up there. But yeah, no, we'd love to have you come out. But to quickly review the defects you have to worry about, blacks, brokens, and damaged, those aren't that common. Of course, rock, snails, cement. But the Quakers are something I would worry about. The shells I would not worry about. Triplets and pea berries, they're good coffee, and the shells are good coffee. Uh, yeah, the now Honduras does have the two different coral snakes. The one of them is red, touching something, you're dead, or whatever. There's a rhyme you're supposed to know. I can't remember it. My rhyme is if it's a coral snake, it dies. If that rhymes. I'm I've found a couple little ones. Apparently, they're more deadly than the big ones. But yeah, they're out there, and when they bite you in Honduras, you generally die. There's no anti venom within enough time to get you any help. Well, guys, I've got to be out here at 6 and start packing coffee. I got two orders from fundraisers I got to get out tomorrow, and I got to try to talk the Starbucks girl into coming in at when she gets off her shift. But thanks, guys, for being on, and thanks for the questions. I'm going to sign off and get in and go eat supper with my family real quick, and then try to get to bed at a decent hour. But if you have questions, shoot them to me, and I'll try to address them next week. And I'll keep everybody up on. There'll be two new coffees that I'm digging through some stuff. So there's an Eka 2 Natural that I'm. It's out there. I just got to find it. It's not a full bag, so it's in with another bag. I'll find that this week and get it up. And Coronados, I know that you guys are waiting on some Eka 2 Natural. I'll get on it as soon as I can. But last night was the first night I was able to get coffee into the roastery. We got a foot of snow on Saturday, and so my container's a little bit away from the house. So I just wasn't going to fool with trying to drag it on a dolly, drag 150 pounds through the snow. And I didn't really have the tractor set up to shovel snow, so I didn't. Like, well, it'll eventually melt. So it hasn't yet, but it's getting sloppy. But my goal is to kill a coral snake that's big enough to make like either a hat band or a bracelet or a belt out of it. That's my goal. So I'm going to learn a little bit about how to tan the hide or whatever you call it. But I'll keep you guys up on that. Let me know if you need anything, and I'll get some new coffee online just as soon as possible. But thanks so much, guys, for being on tonight. Thanks for your questions and thanks for your support. Remember, we need some positive Google reviews. If you guys get a chance to go there, go on my website and leave a review, positive or negative. Last week, somebody hammered me with a negative review. Said my coffee was awful, but they'd wait a year or two and try to order again, and see if I gotten any better. And I'm like, well, I love it when they don't even give you a chance uh, to make the order right before. But awfuls, I'm not even sure if I got 1 star on that one. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.